Hello and welcome to episode 119 of the Wise Guys podcast. I am your host, Brandon Capozziello. Here with me today, my co-host, Justin Ray. We are here to talk about who's going to win this lowly NFC South, Justin. We're going to discuss that today. I know it's kind of like my take of the NFC East as the NFC least of last year. That didn't work out too well for me. Three teams actually made the playoffs, which is crazy. That really backfired. We're going to dive into which teams do we believe are the teams to beat in each division of the NFL. We're also going to talk about Aaron Rodgers re-signs with the Jets, takes a pay cut. Was Brandon right and the Packers got fleeced?
Very Brady-esque.
Very Brady-esque. Everybody talk about Brady. Actually, before we just to cut in real quick, happy birthday to the GOAT, Edward Patrick Brady Jr. 46, Justin. Still looking immaculate. What a guy.
And you know what he did for his birthday already?
What did he do?
He bought a soccer team, a football team.
Football.
Yeah, I forgot what team it was, but yeah. He bought himself a team. I think he has a pickleball team too.
He's got a lot. He's got his hands in a lot of cookie jars, Justin. We're going to dive into did Sean Payton cross the line with his comments about Nathaniel Hackett? We're going to see. And maybe we're going to get into a little Stephen A. Smith take on Kawhi Leonard and a little combat sports action. I do have an interesting topic about Justin's love for baseball and an embrace debate thing I saw on social media yesterday from Barstool Sports. I'm anxious to get his take on that. But before we dive into all that, Justin, how are we doing this fine August 3rd, Thursday morning, 2023?
We are doing good. Last night, so we had a baseball practice with my 12U team. Not too many kids were able to come because they have other team obligations. But at the end of practice, the kids were like, yo, coach, we want to see you guys hit. They want to see all the coaches hit. So we had a little home run derby. I lost, but I came in second place. I got beat by one of my kids' dads. He came out then. He was just like this, yo, Justin, I'm going to end you in 2 swings. And, yo, he wasn't playing around. He was really about it.
Come on.
He's about to be 35 years old, and he's hitting tanks.
Come on, Justin. Really?
Yeah, I was disappointed.
You got bodied?
But I got my home run on video, though. So that's one thing everybody else doesn't have.
That's what counts.
On video. What's up with you, bro? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. So I've got a couple of questions for you. Things that have hit the news cycle a little bit before we dive into the sports section of the show. I just want to get your quick thoughts on, I don't know if you saw this. I know you're more of a Marvel guy, MCU guy, but in the DC world, big things are popping, things are happening. New start is coming. Brandon's very excited about that. Gal Gadot, I don't know how you have it.
Gal Gadot.
Okay, Gal. Sorry, I've heard it both ways. I've heard it both ways, Justin. She's apparently returning as Wonder Woman. How do you feel about that?
I love it.
You love it?
I love it. Listen, they absolutely botched that second movie. I thought that
terrible.
It was horrible. And you know what? It's funny. I actually tried to make my family watch that second movie because I was so excited. And then I felt like, when you pick the bad movie or you're the one bad with the aux cord, everybody criticizes you. Yeah. That was me for a couple of weeks.
That was you done screwed the pooch.
It was bad. But that first movie was
very
fantastic. It was fantastic. That when I saw it, that was the best female superhero movie I had ever seen. And then Marvel did their thing and takes the cake when they're dropping Captain Marvel and all these other movies too.
I preferred.
I'm saying even Black Widow.
I prefer Wonder Woman.
That first Wonder Woman was fantastic. So my point really is, she is the perfect Wonder Woman. She's absolutely killed it. I think it's the first Wonder Woman we've had, a movie of Wonder Woman we've had. So
yes,
I think she's the one. So let her roll with it. Hopefully you give her a better story this time. Keep her in the DC. Don't change her. Don't give us this, revolving door of different casted Wonder Womans. I don't want to see that. I want people to have a face. You know what I mean? Like the face of Wonder Woman is going to be Gal Gadot, and then I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I just quickly on it. I mean, there's a lot of hate going around right now on it because obviously Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck are not Batman Superman anymore. And
I'm happy Ben Affleck is not.
I'm happy too, even though Ben Affleck did a pretty good job in his later parts. I just think, listen, I can see why people are angry about it because, you know, if you're gonna reboot, might as well go all the way with it, right? And I'm in favor of that. But what I'll also say is the caveat to that is Gal Gadot or Gal Gadot. I'm gonna call her Gal, okay? Stop saying the full name. Is a perfect Wonder Woman. I mean, she just looks like Wonder Woman. If you thought, and I love how she does have an accent because it gives Diana and Wonder Woman a little bit, you know, more of a culture, I guess you want to say, or whatever. So I like that. So I can see both sides, really, Justin. I hear both sides. I hear, you know, I love it. She's the perfect Wonder Woman. I hear, and it's possibly gonna confuse a lot of people because she's gonna be back. You're gonna reboot the franchise, but she's kind of a mainstay, and she doesn't have the other two guys next to her and stuff like that. And there's also rumors that apparently Jason Momoa is gonna be in the new DCU, but he's not gonna be Aquaman. That could get confusing unless you change his look. You have to change his entire look, basically.
Yeah, that's something that I'm not a fan of. Now, like you said, Gal Gadot, she matches everything that you would think of when you're thinking of Wonder Woman, of what she looked like, and I think having her is a steal. So I think they did a great job keeping her there. Obviously, I understand both sides, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The only thing that broke,
don't fix it.
If the only thing that broke that second movie was the people that wrote it, that was it.
So one more thing. You said to me right before the show is that you have to catch up on your Marvel TV shows, apparently.
Yeah.
So where was the last one you left off?
Okay, so I believe I was in a few episodes into Miss Marvel. I think I had just finished Moon Knight, which I absolutely loved.
That's honestly, that's my favorite Marvel TV show.
So that's not my favorite. No, that's right behind Loki. Mm-hmm. But Loki, Moon Knight, WandaVision, those are my three. But Hawkeye wasn't bad.
Hawkeye wasn't bad. So you haven't seen She-Hulk then?
I didn't see She-Hulk. I never finished Miss Marvel.
Okay.
And I haven't caught up to Secret Invasion. All I know is that I have a bunch of kids at my job saying they can't wait to go home to watch Secret Invasion, even though I've heard horrible reviews about the final
Let me
episode.
talk to you about it, right? So She-Hulk was bad. You could find a little enjoyment out of it, but it was bad. Okay. I didn't even watch Miss Marvel because I knew it was going to be terrible. I didn't even really care about the storyline. I'm actually kind of tired of kids being superheroes. It just looks ridiculous. But Justin, the secret is out about Secret Invasion, and it's not good. It was honestly the worst one I've seen.
Wow.
I preferred She-Hulk over Secret Invasion. And that was a hot take, but I'm going to stick to it because at least She-Hulk was a comedy show and you could laugh at it. Maybe you're not laughing with it, but you could laugh at it. Secret Invasion was just basically boring, except for one character, Justin, who I think you'll love. And I think universally everybody who's watched it says she steals the show. She, like, every scene she is in, she absolutely steals the scene. And that's a chick that plays Sonya. I forget her last name, but English woman. She is just a gangster, savage. But yeah, I just want, since you haven't seen it, it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on it because I know you're going to get to it. But
yeah, no, I will get to it because you know what, going into it, I really thought that was probably going to be the big time show.
It had potential, and they just didn't do the Secret Invasion storyline justice. Like, that's a massive event, and they didn't do it justice. But
now I'll do my homework because now we got to talk about it.
Yeah, enough of our nerdy talk, Justin. Let's dive into why people came here, right?
Yes, sir.
So first off, we got who will win the lowly NFC South. This has been branded the worst division in football, Justin. I feel like that's universal. So I'm going to kick it off to you real quick. Who do you have winning this division?
So it took me a minute to come up with an answer for this, but I had to go through and look up these schedules. Best quarterback in the division is who, Brandon?
It's Derek Carr. I'll give it to Derek Carr.
Yeah, it's not even a debate. Derek Carr is the best quarterback in this division. The defense of the Saints has, took a step back last season because it's not the same under Dennis Allen as it was with Sean Payton. And you called that out going into the season. I believe that this is the Saints' division to lose. I think going into this now with Derek Carr, you have the most experience more than any of these teams. You're still young, and you still got veteran leadership also at the same time, too. Another year with Chris Olave. Got some news yesterday that Alvin Kamara is likely going to be suspended, or he is suspended officially to start the year.
He's going to be suspended. Hasn't decided how many games.
So he's going to be suspended. We don't know for how long, but I have no doubt in my mind. I mean, look at all this running back talk that we had this conversation just 2 weeks about running backs. They'll find somebody, even though Alvin Kamara is an absolute stud. But the Saints will manage. I think this division is kind of one of those where somebody might get in with 8 wins, So, but I really say it like this. I want you – have you taken the time to look at the Saints schedule?
I've not. Obviously, I know that they play, the other 3 teams twice, but I have not. No, I can't remember who they play. I can't. No.
I have the schedule.
Yeah, I went through actually a week ago.
Yeah,
about a week ago. I went through a week ago. The Schmurda. There's the God damn it, the website, the schedule predictor.
Yeah.
And I went through each week and I actually predicted all the games, and I have the divisions. I might actually get into that with you a little bit. I want you to have maybe a little reaction to it. But so yeah, no, I haven't gone through the schedule. But go ahead. So what were you gonna say?
So as I'm going through this, it hit me. The Saints probably have the biggest walk in the park than anybody. The best quarterback they play, the best 2 quarterbacks that they play this season are 1, Trevor Lawrence, and 2, Kirk Cousins. Those are the best quarterbacks they're going to see in 17 weeks. Week 1, Tannehill. Week 2, Bryce Young. Week 3, Jordan Love. Week 4, Mayfield. Week 5, Mac Jones. Week 6, C.J. Stroud. Week 7, Trevor Lawrence. Week 8, maybe Anthony Richardson or Gardner Minshew. Week 9, Fields. Week 10, Cousins. Week 11, Ritter. 12, Goff. 13, Young. 14, Daniel Jones. 15, Matthew Stafford. We don't know what version we're going to get out of him this year. Week 16, Baker Mayfield. 17, Desmond Ritter. All the top quarterbacks in the league, they do not see at all. They don't see the Mahomes. They don't see the Herberts. They don't see Burrow. Like I said, the best quarterback they're playing is Trevor Lawrence. And while that's a tough quarterback to play, that's a steal of the schedule.
It's not, yeah. I mean, I hear you. My drawback, obviously, on the Saints. Listen, each team, all 4 teams have questions and concerns, right? I don't think anybody's going to argue that point. To me, with the Panthers, right? Well, actually, let's stick with the Saints first, because that you believe that the Saints are going to win this division. I think that they have a very good stake to win that division.
Yeah.
When I had my schedule predictor, if I'm not mistaken, I had the Saints and the Bucks tied to win this. So, spoiler, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the division, but I had them tied. I had them finishing with the same record, but the Bucks edged them out, I guess, in a tiebreaker. With the Saints, like I said, they're probably the favorites to win the division. I would imagine if you went on DraftKings or FanDuel, you get the worst odds, obviously, to win the division. But they have a bad head coach, Justin. And the talent on the field is going to have to overcome that. Truly. Now, you can throw at me the Bucks. They also have a bad head coach.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Todd Bowles was terrible last year. I mean, he was a far cry, Justin, from what we saw in his New York Jets days, where he at least went 10-6 with the Jets team. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of respect was given to Todd Bowles. I even gave it to him.
Yeah.
I was like, you're able to go 10-6 with the Jets. That's pretty damn impressive. And he's always been a mastermind in terms of the I wouldn't mastermind is maybe a little high praise, but an elite defensive mind.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw last year, I don't know what it was. I don't think anybody except for the people in that locker room and in that training camp facility knows what went wrong last year. A lot of I mean, Tom Brady's mind maybe wasn't just in it. You know, he was dealing with a lot of things going into the season. There was a lot of, obviously Bruce Arians moving on from head coach, going to the front office,
which I feel is the X factor amongst that, though.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people could think that, but then a lot of people, the reports came out, said that Brady wanted Arians gone as his head coach, and I don't see. That's where it goes into. I don't know what reports to believe, especially when it comes to Brady, because Brady is so close to the vest kind of guy. He doesn't give you anything. So for these when reports came out about Tom or even about Bill too, it's hard to buy into those. I feel like you might share the same sentiment, because these guys are people that don't give you anything.
But when you start to hear so much about it, it's also kind of hard to believe that it's not true.
For instance, you touched on the
Patriot thing. Yeah, there just became so much coming out, and then Brady ends up leaving, and for me, that was confirmation that, wow, yeah, okay, shit was really going on, So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he didn't, because regardless, whatever Brady said goes.
Yeah,
AB went there, Gronk went there, all these other running backs.
And Bruce Arians said, AB's not going to be on this team. Yep. And then he was able to get on this team, but he was a very important part to their Super Bowl run. But I wanted to say is, so yeah, that factor's gone, right? Obviously. And Baker is now in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know how I feel about Baker.
Oh, I do.
I love me some fucking Baker, Justin. We got to be honest. I obviously was not excited about this move initially. But about 2 weeks ago, I made a TikTok. And I said, you know what? F this shit, Justin. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by one Baker Mayfield, are going to win the NFC South. Book it. Baker, touchdown maker. 10 toes deep.
I don't know how you can come up with that conclusion. I really don't. But I'm confused.
Okay, so hear me out. Come with me, Justin, right?
All right.
Let me talk to you.
I'm listening.
Yeah. Shout out LA Knight. So they re-signed Jamel Dean, which was massive. Mm-hmm. This guy, I looked this up on Pro Football Focus. He has 45 forced incompletions, Justin, in his 4 years in Tampa Bay. 15.8% forced incompletion percentage, ranks 11th among 68 cornerbacks who have at least had 200 targets since 2019. Mm-hmm. This guy is playing outstanding football at the cornerback position. They lost Murphy Bunting, but they still have Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean, like I just said. Mm-hmm. They re-signed Levante David, who has been a staple and a vet for that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team for years now. And he is very, very good, especially in coverage. That guy is outstanding. He's arguably the best coverage linebacker in the entire league still. Mm-hmm. In the draft, and I know this guy just got injured, Kawhi Leonard in the first round. I feel like he's going to be out a couple of weeks. He's a defensive tackle, pass rushing machine out of Pitt, Justin. 47 pressures, 8 sacks, and 9 hits in 2022. Pairing him up with Vita Vea when he comes back is going to be massive for them. They really lacked in that pass rushing zone.
Yeah, they didn't get to the quarterback.
They couldn't, especially when Shaq Barrett went down with his torn Achilles. He's going to be back this year too. How much is he going to be of his old self? Probably not as much, but he's going to be better than a backup player in my opinion. So when Kawhi gets back too from his injury, I think that's going to be major, pairing him up with Vita Vea, especially in the interior, getting pressure in the face of quarterbacks. They also drafted Cody Mock from North Dakota State. Who's most likely going to start at right guard. Mm-hmm. Now, this is what amazed me about him. He's allowed 1 sack and 9 pressures across 304 pass blocks. Okay. So this guy has been outstanding at protect. And now I know you're going to say that was college.
That's college, yeah.
But we're projecting. We're projecting, and you got to project here. Ryan Jensen is back. He's going to be healthy, and he's a great guy to have on your team, especially as an enforcer. He's going to protect Baker Mayfield. Wirfs is moving over to left tackle. It's going to be interesting. He played left tackle in college. He's been outstanding on the right side of the field. I just feel like as long as people are healthy on the O-line, it can be I'm not going to say top 10, but it can be anywhere from 15th to 12th offensive line, 13th offensive line in the league. A top half offensive line. I truly do believe that.
That's fair.
Okay.
You got more?
Yeah, well, the defense is still going to be elite, I believe. I still think it's going to be a top 10 unit. You still have you still got Todd Bowles. You still have that three-headed monster at linebacker, Devin White, Shaq Barrett, and Levante David. You got Antoine Winfield. You got Vita Vea, like I said. Shaq Barrett's coming back. You still got Carlton Davis, Shamel Dean on the on the cornerback position. You have Todd Bowles calling the defensive plays, Justin. And you got to remember this on the offensive side of the ball. They have a new OC. This quarterback competition is not a competition. Okay, it's not. Baker Mayfield's the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kyle Trask is not. Stop it.
That's a given.
Baker now has Mike Evans, who has been not even probably. Mike Evans has been the most consistent wide receiver since he has come out of the draft. There's nobody who has been as consistent with him. He has
every season with 1,000 yards.
Every season, I think he's 1 or 2 seasons away from breaking the record for most 1,000-yard seasons in a row. He's going to have another 1,000-yard season with Baker Mayfield. I think they're going to connect on another level too. Chris Godwin, last year he was coming off that torn ACL. This year he's back, 100% healthy. Chris Godwin's going to give you what he's going to give you. That guy was an elite number 2. Gage, I'm forgetting his first name.
Russell Gage.
It was Russell. Okay. Slot weapon, very, very good. Brady liked him. He was really sporadic last year. It was very weird how, the guy was literally giving his body up in ways that I don't know if it's helpful to the rest of your career, the way he was giving his body up last year, but he's willing to take hits, Justin. I'm saying all that to say this. I agree with you in terms of, can a team win this division with 8 wins? Yes. What were the records I had? I had the Bucs and Saints tying at 10-7. Okay. There were a couple games in there that I had the Bucs probably winning that other people would be like, I don't see that, which is fine. This division's not going to be any good. For anybody to sit there and argue that the Saints are going to run away with this division, I don't even think you can say that or make that argument. I don't know where you have the Saints in terms of – let me ask you then. Where do you have the Saints? Do you have a record in your head? Or
I do have them winning 10.
You have only 10 games.
Mostly, yeah, mostly it's because of what this schedule looks like. And it's not even, I touched on the quarterback and I touched on what they have in Chris Olave. But I believe their defense is going to eat up these quarterbacks. And think about it. In your division alone, you're taking on Baker Mayfield, who we don't know which version of him we're going to get because we just saw him play some good football with Sean McVay. But previously, before that, earlier in the season, bad football with Matt Rule, understandably so.
Matt Rule, yeah.
Desmond Ritter. We don't know what kind of quarterback he's going to be. There's a lot of potential there. But it can be either sink or swim for Desmond Ritter and the Falcons. So you might get that, and then the Falcons are shitty. And then you look on the Panthers side, you got a rookie quarterback, and a lot of defenses look at rookie quarterbacks like, wow, that's lunch.
Yeah.
So with Cam Jordan on the other side, looking at it, like I'm just trying to get to these quarterbacks as best as possible. No O-line in that division scares you whatsoever. Nobody's going to have this dominating front. No. So I think the Saints defense has top 10 potential the way you see the Buccaneers having.
I would say the Falcons have probably the best O-line, but go ahead on your own.
Yeah, and they probably do. But other than that, they really don't have any weapons that scare you. Kyle Pitts disappointed.
I think that people are very high on the Falcons in terms of their weapons out there and the potential, like Bijan Robinson, London, Kyle Pitts, like you said. But it all comes down to who? The guy you named on for Desmond Ritter. Is Desmond Ritter the guy? Now, apparently reports are coming out that the Falcons believe Desmond Ritter is their quarterback of the future. I don't know.
Remains to be seen.
Yeah,
We don't know.
I don't know.
He's made. Don't get me wrong. He made some good throws last season that were head turners. That you're like, oh wow, that's a tough throw. This kid could stay in the pocket and deliver it.
Yeah.
And if he takes that next step this year, then maybe the Falcons are ahead of schedule.
He's got the size. He's got some athleticism to him. He's got a good arm. He's got the talent. It's about going on the field and now doing it. And that's a different, animal in this league. And I don't know. If you're gonna put, ask me direct and just say, what do you really think? You have to answer. I don't think Desmond Ridder is the quarterback for the future for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, finally, the team that we haven't talked about is the Carolina Panthers, who are some other people are very high on.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Reich. People love Frank Reich. I think he's a quality head coach. Has been done dirty by the Colts. Kind of, I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember the reports at the time who was making the decision, if it was Frank Reich that wanted to bring in Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan and didn't want to ever, get a young quarterback and actually build around him. But if that was his decision, that was a stupid decision, just going quarterback to quarterback year by year. That's just never – you got to build continuity.
That was a recipe for failure.
Yeah, so now he's got the quarterback, Justin. He's got the guy, right? He's got Bryce Young. Now, I'm not remembering your feelings on Bryce Young because you've probably seen more of him than me. I'm not a big college football guy. My concerns with Bryce Young are, I think, what everybody else's concerns are: the size. Can he handle it in the NFL? And I know people are going to bring up Kyler Murray. People are going to bring up Drew Brees, Michael Vick, but these are, a dime a dozen, Justin. These are rare breeds. I don't know. And you saw Kyler Murray; he breaks down every year. He's coming off an injury right now. I don't know how you feel with Carolina Panthers.
So, like you said, Frank Reich. Reich alone, he's a great head coach, and I've always felt like he was a very good head coach. Just didn't have the quarterback on his side. So, if he had Andrew Luck, I think we'd be talking. I think Frank Reich.
Forget about it. I mean, I was thinking about, honestly, Justin, bringing up. I was thinking about Andrew Luck a couple days ago, and just how sad. And I think people forget, like, this guy was the next guy. I mean, he was the next big thing.
He was next. I mean, then again, he was running into Patrick Mahomes soon too, so we would have had some fun duels between the two of them. But I think Frank Reich was kind of dealt a bad hand in Indy. I think getting the Matt Ryans, getting the Phillip Rivers, he didn't have a quarterback that was going to take you to the next level. Yeah. You had quarterbacks that won. Phillip Rivers never took the Chargers to the next level. So what made you think pushing 40 he's going to take the Colts to the next level? And then Matt Ryan was slowly on the decline. And then it doesn't help that Matt Ryan's not a mobile quarterback, and he ends up going there at the same time that Quentin Nelson doesn't play like Quentin Nelson.
That was terrible.
So that was just a poor timing, really, for Matt Ryan, because I really think he could have excelled there with Indy, or at least played good football, because I didn't think Indianapolis was a bad team. Hence the reason they did beat the beat the Chiefs last season at home. They played good games. They weren't a bad team. It was just bad timing for them. I just think the O-line went to shit, and their weapons got injured. And then now they have bigger problems on their hand now with Jonathan Taylor potentially wanting out. So
yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
So let's I mean, we've rambled, we've gone all over the place with this topic, but you have the Saints at 10-7.
Correct.
I have the Bucks at 10-7. I have the Falcons at 8-9, and I have the Panthers finishing 4-13.
Ooh, okay.
So, I mean, and listen, like I said, I could easily see this division being won by 8 games because these teams are not that good. The NFC is not that good in and of itself, Justin. So, yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a up and down division. I think it's really anybody's division to take. I do think, but it's the Saints' division to really lose. I think with Derek Carr,
I can agree with you there.
Yeah, I think with Derek Carr being there, you have to excel. Coming off of a bad year with the Vegas Raiders, you need to play good football here. You're playing in a dome. You should be more than fine. You're not dealing with the elements. So go out there, play some winning football. The Saints have a decent, I'd say a pretty solid, talented roster. they go out there and win that division. But if Baker Mayfield is playing his best football and him and Todd Bowles mesh, then Baker might surprise you too. But also at the same time, then you look at Carolina. If Bryce Young
Shock the world.
Yeah, if he's lives up to where he was drafted at, then maybe the Panthers are going to compete too.
I think you hit on something, and just to wrap it up, very, very, the Saints are always going to do very well at home. I mean, I'm looking at the schedule I have right now, and I have them finishing 7-1 at home. They're always going to do very well at home. The Dome, the fans are insane. So yeah, that's always going to be on their side. It's going to be when they're on the road is when we that's where you really find out what this New Orleans Saints team is going to be. What are they on the road? And if they're able to show up on the road, then it's going to be scary. But to wrap that all up, now we've talked about that. Let's quickly get into the teams to beat in each division, Justin. Now, obviously, we just talked about the NFC South. You believe it's the Saints. I believe it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Sure.
So the NFC West, I feel like we're probably going to be in agreement here. It's your
exactly where I'm going. It's not even a conversation. No. The San Francisco 49ers are your team to beat in the NFC West.
Yeah, I can't argue with that, Justin. Simply because the Rams are coming off a terrible season, injury ravage. I mean, and it sucks now. Cooper Kupp is going to be out a couple weeks, and they're being very cautious with him and a hamstring injury. Even though I do believe I have the Niners finished. You're going to be excited. I have the Niners finishing 13-4, Justin. But I have the Rams finishing 10-7.
Oh,
so yeah, I do think the Rams are going to have a bounce back year. I do. I think Matthew Stafford is going to be back to what he was. I think Cooper Kupp is still going to be Cooper Kupp, and I think Sean McVay is going to be able to lead this team to an exciting season. But there's no argument there. I won't argue with you, Justin. You have the 49ers. Okay, you can have it.
I think the division is going to be interesting. Does Kyler Murray have a bounce back season?
When do you think he's going to be back, though? Because I don't.
Oh, that's the concern too.
That's why I'm going to be honest with you, Justin. I want to see your. I'm switching back and forth between websites, so I want to see your reaction when I say this.
Okay.
Excuse me. I have the Cardinals finishing 2-15.
2-15. I mean,
I don't know when Kyler's going to be back. I have a feeling he might miss a lot of the beginning of the season, so that's where I had him losing a lot of games, and they're just not a good football team.
I think I think you're right. I don't know if 2 wins is.
I mean, obviously they could probably win a couple.
Yeah, I see them winning more, but I do think they're not a untalented football team. I think they do have some skilled players on the outside. I think they're not a bad team, but they are a bad team. Just not.
The defense is not.
I don't think they're 2 wins bad. Last season, I had more distaste for the Cardinals as I do this year.
Yeah. All right. Enough on the Cardinals because they're not going to be important this upcoming year. NFC North, talking about an important team.
Okay.
I'm dying on this hill. The Detroit Lions are the team to beat in this division.
Team to beat?
Yes.
I have to go back with the Minnesota Vikings. I can't. So I understand why you would take the Lions. I really do. I love everything that they're about. Anytime I hear MCDC talk, I listen. I love the way he talks about football. I love how passionate he is. Clearly, his players love to play for him. I think Detroit is going to be a scary team this year. Jameson Williams is suspended 6 games, so that's a disappointment, and he hasn't been very good in camp either. So I don't know what to expect out of him, but I do think that Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think they have a special connection. I think Detroit is going to make some noise. But honestly, I still believe that this division now, Aaron Rodgers out, this is Kirk Cousins' division. This is the Vikings' division to lose. Yeah. They had it last season. I think another year with T.J. Hawkinson, too, on the offensive side. Okay. I think they have a great group. Now, Dalvin Cook is out, but I think Minnesota is the team to beat in the NFC North.
Okay. I mean, they're the team that came out last year, but to me, the Lions just came on so strong at the end of the season, especially Jared Goff, especially. I forget the stat. I think Had 15 touchdowns to 1 interception over the last like 7 or 8 weeks of the season. They obviously knocked out the Packers in Green Bay from playoff contention last year in the final game of the season. They came on strong to start the season as well. They were the number one offense for the first like 6 or 7 weeks. I'm pretty sure they gave the Eagles a run for their money in week 1 last year. I think it was 38-35 to start the season. Hot take. I actually have a feeling that the Lions are a sleeper team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs week 1 of the NFL season, because I think while the Chiefs are an incredible week 1 team, I think the Lions have shown that they can be just as incredible in week 1. And I'm not talking about like, this is not going to be a defensive war. I believe this could be a 38-35 game just as well for the Chiefs and Lions.
I hope so.
Yeah, I know Gardner Johnson just went down. I think there's hope that he's going to be back, but it matters. But I just think the Lions gained so much momentum last year. I think their offensive line is going to be top 10 in the league. Mm-hmm. I got to be honest with you, even if it's just bottom of the top 10. Penei Sewell is playing outstanding. Their center is one of the best in the game, Frank Ragnow. They got rid of Hawkinson, and I know you're excited for him on the Vikings, but I think you don't see interdivisional trades that often, Justin. And when they do happen, they happen for a reason. The Lions were obviously very much lower on Hawkinson, and they were willing to give it to a division rival. That speaks volumes to me.
He made a lot of noise in Minnesota.
He did, but it just seems that the Lions, I feel like the Lions know something that we don't, and I think it's that TJ Hawkinson is good, but he'll never be as good as you think he can be. Mm-hmm. You obviously got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is playing outstanding football and who is starting to make a case that he is a true number 1 in this league. Jameson Williams, he's going to be suspended for 6 weeks, but and he made a stupid, dumbass decision. But when he's back, I think there are reports that he's going to be heavily involved in the offense, and I have no doubt about that. They drafted a running back in the first round. I know some people are skeptical on it. I'm not that mad at it, simply because on the offensive side of the football, that was the one thing that they were missing was running back. And now you got a first rounder out of Alabama in Gibbs running behind that very good to elite offensive line. Jared Goff is playing great football. He's playing inspired football. Yep. Trying to prove the Rams wrong for getting rid of him. Who would have thought, Justin, when that trade was made, Stafford for Goff, that the Lions would be in a possibly much better situation than the Los Angeles Rams a couple of years after that? I don't know if anybody saw that coming.
Nah.
But DC has done, like you said, done an incredible fucking job. He has brought an energy and an emotion to this team that carries through the locker room and carries through to the fans of Detroit. Mm-hmm. Playing inspired football. They play tough, gritty football. They play offensive football. I just see – I'm not going to say the Lions are going to compete in the playoffs against these top-tier teams, but I'm saying in the NFC South, NFC North, they're the team to beat because I don't believe in Kirk Cousins. He's a choke artist, and Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins are not that far off.
It's funny because the more you talk, the more it feels like you're changing my mind, because I was last year going into the season the biggest believer in the Detroit Lions. And while I'm still a believer, I don't know if it's maybe this documentary that I saw on QBs that put Kirk Cousins in a different light for me. But I just really do think that Minnesota, after last season, wow, we all thought they were pretenders going into the postseason. We all saw them as this big win team going into the postseason, and we thought it was all a fluke. We thought it wasn't real. And, the Giants proved us correct. I think there's something different. I think Minnesota has something, at least one last run in the tank with Kirk Cousins, that I really believe that the Minnesota Vikings, this is a hot take here. I think the Minnesota Vikings can find their way in the NFC Championship game. If they're healthy.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything has to go in their favor, but I believe with the roster that they have, I like it, and I mentioned Dalvin Cook's not there. I think he's more of a distraction at this point, but they've had success with Alexander Madison already before. They'll be fine. I really do believe the Minnesota Vikings at their peak of powers, if they're healthy, they can make a run at something. I think they can be in the NFC title game, and Kirk Cousins plays good football. Justin Jefferson takes over the world best receiver in football, probably. I don't even know if that's a debate at this point anymore.
But I hear you. And could they make a run? Sure, because this NFC is pretty weak.
Well, that's the thing. Who's the best quarterback in the NFC?
Well, I still believe it's Stafford when healthy. That's how I feel. But I can't get behind the Vikings, Justin. I just can't. Kirk Cousins. You know my feelings on Kirk. He's a choke artist. He doesn't show up in the big games. He doesn't show up when the money's on the line. I know they're. I think he was their head coach a rookie last year, or that was his second year?
That was last year.
It was his rookie year. Yeah. I'm not 100% sold on him. If you're gonna ask me who do I trust more in that entire division in terms of head coaches, it's Dan Campbell. He's the best head coach in that division. Don't give me Matt LaFleur. Okay, Aaron Rodgers made him.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I just have I have the Lions going 11-6, and I have the Vikings going 9-8.
I have the Vikings winning 12 games.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I have the Vikings missing the playoffs. I don't have them making the playoffs.
Oh.
Yeah, no. So next up, the NFC East, Justin. To finish off the NFC, I feel like we're probably going to differ on this, but you know how I feel.
If we differ on this, I'm going to be very concerned.
The team to beat.
That Brandon, do not say it. No, it's not.
Let me have my moment. The team to beat in the NFC South, Justin, is the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, baby. All right. Let me talk to you real quick, Justin, okay? Let me talk to you. Dak is not. You know what? Actually, no. I want to hear, why are the Dallas Cowboys not the team to beat?
Because they're the Dallas Cowboys, Brandon.
Fuck you.
Here's my take.
Right?
The team to beat in the NFC East will never be the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh,
it'll never be the Dallas Cowboys.
That's churlish.
And the truth lies in every single season. The facts are there to support it. Nothing changes. No matter the acquisition, no matter the subtraction, whatever happens with the Cowboys, it's never enough. If you trust that Mike McCarthy, now the offensive coordinator and head coach, is going to take over and do this thing and take the Cowboys all the way to the Holy Land in the Super Bowl, it's not happening. It never will happen. What the NFC was just won by a team in the NFC East, and that team plays in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Eagles have the best roster in football.
Ooh.
Yeah, and one of the best O-lines in football, with one of the best up-and-coming quarterbacks in football, who probably has catapulted himself into elite stratosphere after last season. So I really believe this wholeheartedly. The Eagles are the best team in the NFC. And I don't think it's very close.
Really? Against your Niners too?
Right now, they are the best team in the NFC. And I'm going off of the defending NFC champions. I'm going to give them their flowers, even though I still believe if Brock Purdy plays, they lose. But right now, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts. They got 2 number 1 wide receivers on the outside, and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown.
So do the Cowboys.
Nah, ain't like that. No, it's
Brandon
not.
Cooks and stop it. Stop.
No, he's not. You stop it.
Both of them are going to have 1,000 yards this season. Watch.
He could have 1,000 yards, but nobody looks at Brandon Cooks as, he's the number 1. I'm frightened.
Brandon Cooks got 1,000 yards with Davis Mills.
There's a reason he keeps getting dealt over and over.
No, stop. He's getting dealt first round picks, Justin.
He's replaceable. He's replaceable.
No, he's not.
Listen, and this isn't to me not knocking Brandon Cooks.
How is
a good
guy
receiver.
who has 1,000
He's
yards
a good
with
receiver.
Davis Mills? How is a guy who has 1,000 yards with Davis Mills replaceable?
He's a good receiver, but he is not your game changer like a Terry McLaurin, a DeAndre Hopkins. You put him on that stratosphere.
The speed is the game breaker for Brandon Cooks.
He's not an elite route runner.
The speed is going to make up for his elite route runner. Hold on one second. He's going to be guarded.
Brandon Cooks, you're making me seem like I hate Brandon Cooks.
I'm not making you seem like you're talking yourself.
I like Brandon Cooks. He's a very good receiver, but when you put him, he is no Devontae Smith and he is no A.J. Brown. That's the comparison. He is nothing compared to those two wide receivers.
Okay, but he's not a slouch.
He's not a slouch.
Both of them are going to have.
Justin, he's not a number one.
Would you disagree with this statement? Would you disagree with this statement? Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb are going to both have 1,000 yards this season.
No.
Okay, then. So they won't.
CD will.
Who else is going to? They're going to throw the football. Dalton Schultz is gone. Michael Gallup's going to be the 3. Oh, you forgot that, right, too? If we want to talk depth.
Michael Gallup does not scare anybody.
Michael Gallup as a 3 is very, very good. Especially now he's not going to be coming off an injury now. Like you said, everything you said about the Eagles can be said about the Cowboys. Offensive line is elite. 2 wide receivers that are going to have 1,000 yards guaranteed, and Michael Gallup is going to be a guy to watch out for. They drafted a tight end to replace Dalton Schultz. Tony Pollard's coming off an injury. He's going to be the lead bell cow back. The defense is outstanding, and they got better. They were top 5 last year.
Elite.
Hold on.
Top 2.
They were top 5 last year. They just added a top 10, top 5 cornerback to that team. The Eagles know what the Eagles actually sound. Besides the point. Both are good. All I'm saying is listen. All I'm saying is anything you say about the Eagles can be said about the Cowboys, except the coaching. The head coach, defensive coordinator wise, Dan Quinn is outstanding, and I love that they kept him there because he is the heart and soul of that defense. He brings the energy to that defense. They re-signed Wilson. They re-signed Leighton Vander Esch, who's having a career resurgence. Micah, Justin, Trayvon Diggs, and Gilly, the best cornerback duo in the NFL. Mm-hmm. The only negative you can have, and I will not argue, is Mike McCarthy. I can't argue.
And you know what? That's enough.
No, because here's the other thing that you're forgetting about the Eagles. They lost both their
you know what? No, not just Mike McCarthy, Brandon. Dak Prescott.
Don't say it.
Dak Prescott.
No.
You can. Let's be honest here.
I believe in Dak.
Let's be honest here.
I believe
Dak Prescott. How many interceptions did that man throw last season?
He led the league. All right. Yes. He was the first quarterback in NFL history to lead the league in interceptions and not play a full season. That is a fact.
You said that with a straight face.
Well, because that's the fact. He did. I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and argue that because that is what happened. But let me ask you this. Has Dak Prescott, other than last year, been a turnover prone guy?
No, but we've seen the flaws.
Okay, we've seen them
up. We've seen them play.
Hold on. I feel like you're nobody is putting Dak in the stratosphere of top 5. But 10, 11, 12, what quarterback in that range doesn't have their flaws? Dak Prescott, I feel like we forget Dak Prescott is an overachiever. 4th round pick. Mm-hmm. And he's being talked about as the 10th, 11th, 12th best quarterback in the league.
Fantastic story. Yes.
Leadership. Okay. He's one of the best leaders in football. Mm-hmm. Okay. He can make all the throws. He's got a good arm. He's got athleticism. How many of those? But you're gonna see. You know what? You're gonna see. You're gonna see. You're going to see.
I guarantee you, he will throw you into mistakes. I think we've seen Dak Prescott at his best already. I don't think he's going to get better. We've seen the best version of him. And the best version of him.
With an injury too last year, Justin, on his throwing hand, his thumb.
The best version of him and the Cowboys is a first, second round exit. That's how it is. That's how it always will be. I'm sorry to break it to you, Cowboy fans. This is the Philadelphia Eagles division, and creeping up behind you, soon to come. You're gonna laugh at me for saying this.
Don't.
It's the New York Giants.
No, they're not doing nothing.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Creeping up right behind the Dallas Cowboys. Wow, you know
what? That's more blasphemous.
No. You know what? Yes, the Cowboys have a way more talented roster than the New York Football Giants, but I think the Giants are on the up and up. I think the Cowboys Super Bowl window, you're going to have to start questioning. When is it going to close?
When
is it going to close?
It's not. Listen,
because we're putting them as a contender every single season,
because they have the roster to contend,
and they don't.
It's always been the coaching. It's always been the coaching. You're telling me right now, if the Dallas Cowboys had Brian Daboll as their head coach, you wouldn't be singing the Dallas Cowboys praises?
Yes, maybe so. I probably would have been singing.
It's always been the coaching with the Cowboys.
But you know what? Mike McCarthy is still there.
He is.
So
and
from now on, as long as Mike McCarthy's there, I'm not. Cowboys out.
I don't want you.
You're right. I don't want to be.
We don't want you there because here's the thing, Justin.
I don't want to be there.
All I want is for the Cowboys and the Eagles to play in the playoffs this year. I want that.
Same.
I want it bad.
I want to see it in Philadelphia and watch the Cowboys throw 3 interceptions
in the
fuck cold Philadelphia weather. And or even I'd be even more happy if it ends up being a game in Dallas and then the Philadelphia Eagles completely embarrassing the Cowboys in Jerry's World. That'll be even more entertaining because I would love to get up to see Stephen A. Smith talk in the morning.
All right. Before we move on to the AFC, I have the Cowboys finishing. I actually want to see your face when I say it. 14-3.
You're nuts. You're nuts.
You remember that scene from Austin Powers Goldmember when he at the end when he slides down the ladder? He's like, "I always knew you were crazy, but now I can see you're nuts." I have the Eagles finishing 12-5. Okay, so no slouch. I have the Giants finishing 6-11.
Yo, this guy, everybody is disrespectful to the New York Giants, but that's for another episode.
Yeah, we're not talking. We're talking about winners this year, Justin. We're not talking about
for another episode.
Okay,
but I have Philadelphia winning at least 12, 13 games this season.
Okay,
and the Cowboys maybe 11.
AFC South. I feel like we're going to be in agreement. This is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars are the team to beat.
Correct. Yeah, I'm with you.
I have the I think the Jaguars have a chance. I think that they can make an even bigger leap. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be MVP conversation. Mm-hmm. Calvin Ridley, I know he's dealing with a little toe injury, but I think he'll be fine. I have and you know what? I'm actually really, I know it sounds stupid, but Jaguars are finally getting something to really root for here, and that's nice for them.
Yeah, no, it is. It's funny. So I see on Twitter some of these videos of them in camp, and I saw Zay Jones run a route. Zay Jones ran his route, boom. And then right behind him is Calvin Ridley moving so quick. If he's healthy this season, and they're saying he's in the best shape, they always say that in the offseason.
Yeah, they always say that.
In my life. So if he's really in his peak of powers, if he's in the best shape of his life and he's going onto the field, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to, elevate him even more because I think Trevor Lawrence's potential is way more than what Matt Ryan could do. Yeah. And Matt Ryan was a very good quarterback in his heyday. So if Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley are on the same page, they re-signed Evan Engram, they still got Travis Etienne in the backfield. Yeah. I think this Jacksonville Jaguars team, 1, it's a runaway. This is their division. Yeah. And 2, like you said, you're talking about Trevor Lawrence and the MVP conversation. I'm with you on all that. But they also played a competitive football game against the Chiefs in the playoffs.
They did.
And I really believe you catch the Jaguars on a hot day. I don't know. This team might change your mind mid-season. Yeah. You might be talking about them as Super Bowl contenders. Yeah. And I know it's crazy to say that, but I really believe that somebody's going to knock out Patrick Mahomes at some point.
It happened because I know, a lot of people are going to get caught up in the Mahomes train, right? And the AFC West is next. I think we both agree the Chiefs are the team to beat in that division, right? Yeah. We don't even have to talk about it. But they're going to, the law of averages are going to happen, okay? I know we want to get behind Mahomes, and he's the best quarterback in the league right now ever since number 12 walked away from the game. Patrick Mahomes' league now, okay? And it's going to happen, though. They're going to lose. They're not going to make it to the Super Bowl. They're not going to make it to the AFC Championship every year. It's just not going to happen. You can look at the Patriots. It didn't happen every time. No, it happened a lot. And it's going to probably happen a lot for the Chiefs. But you look at this AFC, Justin. I said it before, and I'll say it again. This is most likely the AFC is the best conference in NFL history. Currently, right now, 2023's AFC is the best conference in NFL history. I don't know how you can make an argument it isn't with how great this quarterback talent is.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. If we go down the list of quarterbacks in this division, it's
and not even that. What they've surrounded their quarterbacks with, all those teams.
Yep,
all of them. And so the AFC West, we agree on the Chiefs. So the AFC North, might disagree with. I know you were really high on the Ravens last year. I have a feeling you'd probably be. Go ahead. You're probably just as high.
So I'm actually on the Bengals train.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm on the Bengals train. Well,
how is that? Because the Ravens, you would make the case, finally gave Lamar what he wanted and has been begging for.
Correct. So don't get me wrong, I'm still high on the Ravens. This was a tough decision because I actually put Bengals/Ravens because I actually see them finishing with the same record. So I really don't know where to go, but I do believe just the Bengals have been so good. I think Joe Burrow has been year after year been the one to go toe to toe. Whenever he's healthy, he's taken his team to either the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. There's 2 full seasons. That's his track record, and I think that says a lot. So you add those weapons that he has, and we can talk about Jamar Chase. We can talk about all these guys that he has with him. I think Joe Burrow is probably the second best quarterback in football. And if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes winning all these AFC title games and going to the Super Bowl, we'd be talking about Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes in the same tier. I'm willing to have that conversation. So I'm going to go Bengals here. But also, I still believe that the Ravens are a very good football team, adding those weapons and Zay Flowers, Odell. I think the Ravens will also be another contender. So really, this division could go either way. But the Bengals have been the one winning it, so that's why I'm going to say they're the team to beat. Till somebody knocks them off, they have to be the team to beat.
So I have the Bengals as the team to beat in this division, but when I was going through my schedule predictor, Justin, I actually have the Bengals finishing in second place in their division.
Oh.
But tied.
Oh, okay.
And not with the Ravens.
The Steelers?
Don't say the Browns.
Oh, my God.
Here's what I got to say about this, right?
Honestly, I'm going to roll my eyes, but...
Trust me. Here.
If Deshaun Watson's Deshaun Watson.
The Bengals, I have them finishing... I have both the Bengals and Browns finishing 13-4 this season. I have the Ravens finishing 12-5. All 3 teams making the playoffs. I actually have the Steelers going 9-8 too. So all teams are going to have winning records. I have the Bengals. I think I had them losing their first 2 games of the season because I don't know Joe Burrow's status for that. You know, he might miss some games. I know he's going to be out a couple weeks with the calf strain. He might miss a week or 2 in the regular season, in the beginning of the season. And I think the Bengals and Browns actually play each other in week 2, if I'm not mistaken. So I just think that if the Cleveland Browns, I know I have the Bengals as the team to beat because I do believe they are, but the Browns, man, that defense is very, very good. The O-line is still elite. The weapons, you got Amari Cooper, you got Peoples-Jones. I'm blanking on the other kid's name. You got David Njoku, who is finally actually starting to show his potential. You still got Nick Chubb, who is a bell cow back. He's arguably the best running back in the league, if not top 3, top 2 best. I think that they're going to bounce back. I think, like I've said, Deshaun Watson's thing was not an injury. It was shaking off the rust, and I think he's shaking off the rust. I think he's going to get this. He's had a full offseason. He's got the continuity, the chemistry with his guys, and there's no way you can sit here. If he shits the bed again, Justin, this is going to be one of the weirdest things that I think we have seen in sports history. A guy who didn't get injured, took a year, didn't take off a year, was made to take off a year and a half of football, and was never able to get that skill set back. I can't fathom that, Justin. I can't. A guy who was an MVP quarterback, a guy who was breaking into the top 5, starting to get talked with Rodgers and Mahomes and them. People who believe is Deshaun Watson is just a winner, baby. That's what he does. He just wins. I can't see how that guy just goes from ascending like this to I can't fathom that. So that's why I have the Browns winning the division right now.
Well, remember that. So since situation wasn't based off an injury. A year and a half of football is a year and a half of football.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rust. The game may seem a little bit faster to you when you get back on the field.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, since it wasn't an injury, it was maybe his issue is more mental at this point.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, so maybe all the conversations had about him, maybe that does get to him. Maybe, he's not made out of steel mentally. So it can happen, understandably so, given the situation that he was in. So I just don't. I guess I can see the Browns being competitive, but I just really believe the Ravens and the Bengals. With all respect given to Nick Chubb, I love the guy. I think Deshaun Watson is insanely talented, and Amari Cooper had a solid season last year as well. I just don't believe it matches up with what the Ravens got. And then when you look at the head coaching too, we're talking about the Harbaugh on one side, and then you got Mike Tomlin also in that division. I mean, Zach Taylor he's not a scary head coach, but the roster is. So I'm still going to go Bengals. I'll go Ravens. I'll go Steelers, and I'm going to have to still keep the Browns in last place.
Yeah, that the last part, I don't see how you can have the Steelers over the Browns because I don't think.
I was going to say that it's potentially that's interchangeable too.
Yeah,
I'd say the Browns, Steelers, whatever.
Even though I have the Steelers winning 9 games, because it's hard for me to go against a Mike Tomlin led team, and they have an incredible defense. They've got
second year with a quarterback now.
Just the projection of Kenny Pickett, is he going to progress? That's really it. And finally, the AFC East. I mean, if DeAndre Hopkins was on the Patriots, Justin, the New England Patriots would be the team to beat, but he is sadly not. The team to beat is the Buffalo Bills, but I went through the schedule, Justin, schedule predictor. I have the Buffalo Bills missing the playoffs.
So how are they the team to beat if they're
right? I because I made this thing before I did the schedule predictor. I have the Jets finishing 11-6, and I have the Bills finishing 10-7 and missing the playoffs because I have 3 teams coming out of the
North.
AFC North, and who's the other teams? And I have the Chiefs and Broncos making the playoffs.
Okay.
So I went through the losses. Actually, you know what? Let me give you the losses, and you tell me if I'm crazy for the Bills, right? 10-7. So I have them starting off actually 4-0, Justin. But week 5 in England, I have them losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars because I just feel like that's a home away from home kind of game for the Jaguars.
Okay.
Then I have them winning their next 3 games. Then I have them losing to the Bengals in Cincinnati in week 9. I think the Bengals win the game that was supposed to happen last year, but sadly didn't because of the incident that happened with DeMar Hamlin. And we should mention, shout out to DeMar Hamlin. He is most likely going to be playing this year, and that is very exciting and very awesome news to hear that. Then I have the Broncos stealing a game in Buffalo on Monday Night Football. Then I have the Eagles winning in Philadelphia against the Bills. Then the Bills go into bye week 13. I have the Chiefs beating them in Kansas City coming off the bye. I have the Chargers beating them in LA because it's in LA. That's why I give LA the win there. And then finally, I have the Bills losing to Miami in Miami in week 18, the final game of the season. I still have them finishing 5-1 in the division too, but I have them finishing 10-7. I don't know. I feel like those losses are losses that could easily happen. But that's how I had it. I think they're the team to beat, but I have the Jets winning the division. It was just a shocker to me as it is you, Justin. I don't.
So I completely disagree with how that schedule shakes out. I think the Buffalo Bills have shown you that they can compete and they can play big football against big dogs. So marking them as L's against teams like Cincinnati or even Kansas City, I think they'll get at least one. I do see them sweeping New England. I see them maybe splitting with the Jets, but that like games against the Eagles, and I don't know. I don't see the Bills being that bad. I understand the roster. I understand people's questions about them, but I don't see them being.
I know you're high on the Jets too. So who's the team to beat in the AFC East?
Actually, and you just said it. The team to beat in the AFC East is the New York Jets.
Ooh.
It's wild for me to say, but everything that seems to be going on with them looks amazing.
You're excited.
I think Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, I think iron sharpens iron. I think they're making each other better. I think they're both going to excel at their positions this year. I think Aaron Rodgers is only going to make Garrett Wilson better and that wide receiver group even better. I think Brees Hall being back, I don't know when exactly he comes back. I don't know if he'll be back week 1.
I think he's ready. I think he's on track for week
1. Yeah, so if he's ready to go, that dude's going to be an absolute unit in the backfield, potentially adding Dalvin Cook into the offense also if they end up doing that and they make that move. We haven't touched on it yet, but Aaron Rodgers' pay cut making the Jets available to make moves if somebody were to come available later in the season. They're able to make a trade or make a signing if somebody gets cut. That's a difference maker. I think the Jets right now, I have so much confidence in Aaron Rodgers and the difference that he makes with an organization. I think this is going to be the most stable the Jets organization has ever looked in their time as a team.
I think since Rex Ryan, this is the most stable they've been.
So I really believe in the Jets. I hate to say it as a Patriot fan, but as a football fan, I have to be very honest with you. I think this is the Jets' division to lose. Aaron Rodgers joined at the right time where, there's no Tom Brady in the division anymore and there's questions in New England. He joins when Buffalo is starting to look like they're going downhill. They don't have the same continuity as they used to of questions as Stephon Diggs with the organization. And then Miami is Miami. You just don't really know because they have Tua as their quarterback.
Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers really chose the perfect time to join the AFC East. Hey, man, I'm never going to say the JETS chant, but yeah, I really do believe the Jets are going to go a long, long way.
All right. But, perfect segue for our next topic. Aaron Rodgers re-signed with the New York Jets. Takes a pay cut. Now, I made a statement months ago, obviously, when Aaron Rodgers was traded to the Jets and when the talks were happening. I explicitly said if the Packers don't at least get one first-round pick, they will have been fleeced in this move. They kind of got a first-round pick. Here are the trade details. Packers received the 13th overall pick of the first round this past year in 2023. They got a second-round pick this past year. They got a sixth-round pick this year or last year. And they've got a conditional 2024 second-round pick, which I believe will turn into a first if Aaron Rodgers plays a certain amount of games. So you can kind of bank that, I guess, as a first-round pick. But the Jets received Rodgers. They received the 15th overall pick. So basically the Jets and Packers just swapped their first-round picks this past year. And they got a fifth-round pick. I said this from the beginning. I said it's insanely crazy for anybody to think that Aaron Rodgers is only going to spend a year in New York. This is and now he's re-signed, and now I think his contract is upwards of 4 or 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. It could be even longer. I don't exactly. I know they just kind of push the money aside, which they always do, but this is possibly a 2 to 3 year thing. And for the Packers to only walk away with really one first-round pick, and if we believe the Jets are going to win the division or at the bare minimum be in the playoffs, that means that pick is going to most likely be anywhere from 17 to 32. That's you. The Green Bay Packers got fleeced, people. Open your eyes. They had what the Jets wanted in Aaron Rodgers, and they basically just gave him away for a box of candy. I don't understand how they give away their 15th overall pick and not walk away with 2 first rounders this year, a first rounder next year, and a second rounder somewhere else. How this blows my mind how this happened. We all expect Rodgers to not fall off a cliff. That's what the Jets believe. So if the Jets believe that, then what the hell are you willing to give up? So you basically dangle the carrot in front of them and you say you want Aaron Rodgers? Give us your best offer. Isn't that what the Portland Trailblazers are doing right now with Damian Lillard? But and everybody's on the Portland Trailblazers side now saying, yeah, get as much as you can. But when Aaron Rodgers was getting traded, people were saying, no, the Packers have to give him up. How is that different? They both have contracts that are above 1 year. Both are making an insane amount of money, Lillard and Rodgers. How is that different? It's not. So for people to sit here and say the Packers got a good return are fucking idiots, man. They're idiots. I don't see how, and I feel like I don't remember what your opinion on it was months ago, if you believe the Packers got fleeced, but it's so what was your opinion on it, and what did it change?
For a long time, I remember we had this debate with John here. My take on it was the Jets had all the leverage. I really did believe Packers had to move him regardless. Yeah. Or else that contract stays. You have to pay him, and he's not playing for you. I think it was the best move for them to move on from him. But package-wise, for what you're trading and a top 5 quarterback of all time, top 5 quarterback of all time, you didn't get what you actually deserved.
No.
And that's the thing. That's where I say it's Aaron Rodgers played this all into his favor. He wanted the Jets to have the most assets as possible so they can make the Jets a better team when he gets there. And the way he played the game with the Packers was, all right, I'm not playing. You still have to pay me. I want to go. You're going to have to trade me regardless of what. And then he dangles this in front of them saying, I might retire. I was 90% away from retiring. So the Jets aren't trading all these picks for a guy that was just thinking was full blown into retirement, So the Packers kind of had their hands exactly, but the Packers had their hands tied behind their backs, and they're like, all right, so this guy, we got to trade him.
So that was your opinion then. I don't believe that. I don't believe that they had their hands tied behind their back. I feel like they were in the catbird seat, and they could have said, okay, go ahead and retire, because he never was going to retire. He was not 90% away from retirement. That is a bull-faced lie, okay? And I've grown to like Aaron Rodgers over the past 5 or 6 years, but that's a lie. You lied, okay? You were not 90%. This guy had over $100 million left on his contract to get. There was no 90% walk away, okay? It was always, I want to play, and I'm just going to use the leverage to get what I want, I should say. The Packers should have said, we'll eat your contract, or if you really are about that and want to retire, go ahead and retire, and then your contract is frozen. I don't see how the Packers don't walk away with more than one late first-round pick next year.
No, absolutely. I don't know how that – I don't know how they just didn't get more. You could have had more first-round picks. I mean, you look at the packages that some people get for quarterbacks that they trade, and you're trading that's the perfect example. That's the recent one. But you're trading Aaron freaking Rodgers. And all you got was the 13th and 42nd overall pick. Forget the 6th rounder. Hopefully it becomes something. Yeah. And then you get a conditional 2nd round.
And you have to give up a first-round pick. You have to give up a first round. What? I'm giving you Aaron Rodgers, and I have – what? Never heard that in my life. Yep. I'm giving you an asset that is going to make you an instant playoff contender and possible title contender, and I have to give up my first-round pick? What, am I making you basically take him? No, you want – that made no sense to me whatsoever.
So, well, and here we are. Packers are starting – excuse me. Packers are starting Jordan Love, and now it remains to be seen if John's takes on Jordan Love actually come to fruition. Is Jordan Love going to be a guy for the Green Bay Packers? Is he going to be a stud? And maybe the Packers can actually compete in their division. Yeah. I don't believe it.
No.
But I think the Packers just made the Jets a Super Bowl contender overnight.
A lot of people do believe that. A lot of Jets fans. All right. Next up, Justin, to wrap up the NFL talk, quick takes. I don't know if you saw it. I would imagine you did.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Sean Payton crossed the line with his comments about Nathaniel Hackett?
I think it was a clown move.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was a clown move. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I just don't see the reason to – I don't know what question he was asked that made him
Yeah.
say that.
I think he was asked. Yeah, actually, no, I don't remember. But I know a lot of people say that it was meant to galvanize the team. It wasn't,
I mean, I guess, but I
Yeah.
don't know who that's galvanizing. It's just a low. It's a low blow.
Yeah, okay.
You're in the organization now. You're the Broncos head coach. Everything that happened in yesteryear doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers had a good take because Aaron Rodgers was asked about it, and I guess he kind of said, I don't have the quote in front of me, but sort of, yeah, it's a good cover if the season goes to shit for you this year. You can
Yeah.
blame Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah.
All right, now you can blame him. So I guess that's a good move on your part, just Sean Payton, just to cover your ass.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it.
Yeah.
But I really thought it was an asshole move. Last year was last year. You had no responsibility over that team. Your only responsibility is what happens now. So if you're going to sit there and say, oh, well, it was poor roster construction by the other regime. Well, you have full control over the Denver Broncos now.
Mm-hmm.
You have full control. So you sitting here being a dickhead, just going at Nathaniel Hackett for what? The hell did he do to you?
Yeah.
And listen, he doesn't owe him an apology because I heard that, he was supposed to. He said he was going to apologize to Nathaniel Hackett. I don't think Nathaniel Hackett should even want an apology. I think he should just be like, yo, you talked your shit. Now focus on whatever you got to focus on. See you week 5.
Yeah, exactly.
See you week 5. That's it.
So for me, this is how I see it. I come from a different boat, I guess. I don't have a problem with the comments at all. Okay. I believe there's this whole thing going on about apparently Sean Payton broke the code, the coaching code. Mm-hmm. I guess this is an unwritten code, an unwritten rule. I'm going to put it blunt. I don't give a fuck about no unwritten rule, okay? What this man gave his opinion and gave an honest opinion. An opinion that I don't think anybody's going to disagree with. Nathaniel Hackett was completely unprepared and not a good head coach last year. He was arguably the worst head coach in football last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, if not for Urban Meyer, it would be pretty bad for Nathaniel Hackett. It's for me, it's just the guy gave his opinion. And is he going to apologize? Like you said, Nathaniel Hackett shouldn't even want it, and Sean Payton shouldn't even have to give it. He probably just said that to the press, like, I'm going to call him, privately and apologize, just to kind of put it out. There's no apology needed. Like, a man gave his opinion, and that's that. We move on. And I don't think it's a outrageous opinion. I don't think it's a wrong opinion, mm-hmm. a wrong take, I should say. It's factual. Nathaniel Hackett was arguably the worst head coach in football last year, and we got to call a spade, in my opinion. And Sean Payton did exactly that. But I know I'm in the minority in that conversation. I mean, if you watched the sports morning shows and all that stuff, everybody is, saying, Sean Payton, you crossed the line. You didn't have to do that. You didn't. Like, I hear Justin is saying that too. So I hear everybody. But I just feel like, gave his opinion. Wasn't a wrong opinion.
I hear you. But like I said, it's just uncalled for. And he knew what he was doing when he said it.
Yeah.
You could say things like that. And
you're talking be politically correct.
Yeah, you can do it the right way, and I guess Sean Payton he has a mind of his own.
He's got no filter. He's going to tell you. He's got exactly what he says.
But you didn't need to do it. Like I said, and I really do agree with Aaron Rodgers. I do see it as this is a cover kind of thing. Broncos go to shit this year. Blame Nathaniel Hackett. Blame everybody else from last season.
I hear you on that. I just saw that quickly. Lions sell out season tickets for the first time in 21-year history of Ford Field.
That's incredible.
That just speaks volumes to how the Detroit Lions are galvanizing those fans to finally show up and be like, we're coming. We're coming, baby.
Good, man. Detroit's going to be fun.
So final quick take. Moving on to the NBA side of this, Justin. Mm-hmm. This was a hot topic a couple months ago and then got revitalized because Paul George, I guess it finally, hit his radar. He responded months later, right? I don't know. But Stephen A. Smith had a take on Kawhi Leonard. He believes, kind of to not verbatim speak it, but this is kind of his summary. Kawhi Leonard is the worst superstar a franchise could ask for due to the amount of perks he demanded with his contract, the load management, the injuries, and his lack of marketing presence. That is basically broad strokes what his take is.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion on this, especially when I heard it months ago, because as you probably know, I'm an avid listener of Stephen A. Smith and First Take and Undisputed. Skipping Stephen A. Smith were kind of the reasons I got into sports so much, to the reason why I'm doing this with you right now, and the reason why I want to break into this field and do big things with this. But this take was not only wrong, Justin, it was disgusting. Because he was also calling for Kawhi Leonard to retire. Now, he's said a couple of different things too, like, Paul George, you saw the injury in the Olympics. You saw this man get hurt. You saw this guy get hurt. So I can see it. With Kawhi, you didn't see an injury, right? And but you should, first off, you shouldn't have to see an injury to know a guy is injured. That's first off. That happens literally all the time. Kawhi Leonard apparently injured his, I think it was his ACL in Game 1 against the Phoenix Suns. So he played part of that game injured. Game 2, he played through that entire game with that injury. Both games, Justin, he balled the fuck out.
Yeah. He
was doing great things on offense, and he was doing great things on defense against a Devin Booker and Kevin Durant-led team. If this man is willing to do that on one leg, basically, he's obviously got love and passion for this game. So if that love and passion is still there, why are we calling for this man to retire? He obviously wants to play. If he didn't want to play anymore, Justin, it was just about the money, why is he still playing? Why is he still going through the rehabs? Why is he still going through the training camps and the OTAs or whatever, and all this shit? Why is he still going through years of straining those knees and stuff? It's because he loves and has a passion for the game. So calling for the retirement for me was not only wrong, it was disgusting in my opinion for Stephen A. Smith, a guy that I look up to very much so. So I don't agree with that at all. What's your take on it? How do you feel? Was this take fair or foul in your opinion?
So I believe it is fair.
Okay.
I think one, Stephen A. he gets questioned a lot by other athletes saying he doesn't deserve to have an opinion in sports.
That's another thing I want. That's bullshit too.
Yeah, and it's messed up. I mean, Stephen A. And he touched on in that podcast where he's been talking bull since 1996. Man, he's been doing a lot.
Quickly, it's not to cut you off, but that whole narrative around people, you'll hear it all the time. If you don't do something, you're not allowed to have an opinion or talk on it. That's the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. You look at the greatest coaches in sports, name me the ones that were elite players.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Bill Belichick, to my knowledge, never played professional football. I don't know how much he played in college. Greg Popovich, was he a basketball player at an elite level? No. You look at all the guys in the front office, a lot of them weren't elite players or even played professional ball. You don't have to do something to have an opinion or a take on it or be good at that job. You want to know who the best example of that is, Justin? Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. He is possibly the worst owner and GM in NBA history. It means that if you don't, just because you're great at something doesn't mean you have a great eye for talent.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that. Doesn't mean. So basically, people are saying that shit, like you're not allowed to have an opinion on it because you didn't do it. So have these people ever watched a movie or a TV show? Have they ever listened to a song? You're telling me you've never had an opinion on that? You're telling me when you walk out of a movie, you're allowed, you just got to sit there and just watch the movie and not have an opinion on it? That makes no sense. So that take is so ridiculous and stupid. Go ahead.
No, it is. But on the Kawhi scene, I think he has a point. When you go into a season and you spend, I don't know, I think Kawhi was making about $55 million this season.
Yeah.
You expect your star out there, and granted, injuries happen. Understood.
Yeah.
But At the same time, they get paid a whole lot of money to produce for you, be on the court for you. If Kawhi Leonard plays probably more games, Clippers probably find themselves at a higher seed. Granted, the injury happened in the postseason, and he did as much as he could while he could. Not a bum, what was a bum knee that he's playing with, and he's still hooping. I think Kawhi is a sensational superstar when he's on the court, and there's no denying it. But the problem really is he's not on the court.
Yeah.
You need him on the court to be relevant. You need him on the court for your team to be relevant, because without Kawhi Leonard on the Clippers right now, Clippers are just a nothing team to us. That's an irrelevant team that we'll just be talking about in a ranking to drop all the way at 15, 16.
Yep.
We wouldn't be thinking about him. So I think Kawhi Leonard, is he the worst superstar in the NBA to have? It's definitely a debate to have, because you know what? As a Knicks fan, I get criticized a lot for my takes on guys like Julius Randle. But you want your stars to be available.
Yeah.
You want them to play.
Oh, yeah.
And granted, they take on such a heavy load, but the Clippers have such a talented roster that you can just minimize minutes. You just don't him just missing games completely, missing weeks, and what feels like months sometimes. He's not available.
Yeah.
And Bill Belichick has said it before, and I'll repeat what he says: the best ability is availability.
Yes.
So you got to be out there for your team, because really, what is Paul George without Kawhi? Paul George said he's a number 2.
Yeah.
He called himself a number 2. So really, the situation that you're putting yourself in is, damn, now Kawhi's not playing, so now I got this number 2 who doesn't even believe in himself to lead the squad. So Clippers are in a shitty position.
Yeah.
I want to see Kawhi play. I want to see Kawhi at his best. I want to see the Clippers contending for titles, because it's been years. I mean, going into high school, I remember Lob City, and then now I'm watching this Clippers team like, yo, they were supposed to win a championship years ago. And now that when you sign Kawhi, you expected championships. You expected at least a finals appearance, and we haven't gotten that. Because they're not available. Yeah. And granted, it's freak injuries. Shit happens sometimes. I understand that. But when you can play.
You got to play.
You have to play. And it sticks with me. I remember Derek Jeter saying this. I'm probably going to botch the quote completely, but about him going out there and playing hard every single day and trying his best not to miss a game. He's like, because somebody might be watching me for the first time there. There's kids out there. Tickets to an NBA game are expensive, and I can only imagine. I haven't gone to a Knicks game in the Garden in years.
Yeah,
because of how expensive it is.
Forget about it.
So I only could imagine how it is in LA. There's a kid out there going out there to see Kawhi Leonard because he fell in love with him through the highlights, and then he goes out there to try and watch him play, and guess what? He's just taking a rest day.
I'm not there. I listen. Yeah, the load management is another conversation for a different day that we can get into. But yeah, I hear you on that. I know you have to go. Do you have a time for one question, or you got to be out of here?
Talk to me.
All right. So baseball. I want to get your thing. I saw this on Twitter from Barstool Sports. # embrace debate. Is it worse to lose a baseball game on a balkoff or a pickoff? I have no idea what either of those things are, Justin. So talk to me, Goose.
A balk off or a pick off? What would be worse? Okay. Being picked off is if you're taking a lead on a base and then the pitcher just picks you off and then he guns you out.
Okay.
A balk is the pitcher needs to, any sudden movement on the mound, he needs to always come set. So if he twitches, anything like that, that's a balk. The runner gets a free base.
Wow.
I would say both.
Since you're a coach, so if you're a coach and that one of them happened, which one would piss you off the most?
Okay, I'd say the pickoff.
Okay.
I'd say the pickoff because to me it's more so a runner sleeping. You're not awake. So to me that's just if it's the 9th inning, there's 2 outs and game is on the line, that means you get picked off, your head's not in the game. You're not awake. You can identify a pickoff. People don't get picked off every day. It happens. Some pitchers have amazing moves to first base. Or I remember Andy Pettitte. He was a legendary pitcher for the Yankees. He had an outstanding move to first base. He was tough to read. But in a late game, you should know where you should be taking your lead. You should know how aggressive you're supposed to be. You should be keeping your eye on the ball, keeping your eye on your coach at the same time too, knowing when to make your moves. Being picked off would be absolutely embarrassing. Getting a balk too is another embarrassing one, but that's also ticky tacky. Sometimes it's not an egregious balk. Sometimes it's a debate. Yeah, it could be or it could not be. But I'll go pick off because I'll yell at my kids. My kids this season we've lost out on so many runs and innings because we've ran out of innings. So base running is a big thing for me. So yeah, I'm gonna go pick off.
All right. So our resident baseball guy saying that a pickoff is worse to lose a game of baseball. All right, so Justin Ray has to leave us. I'm going to continue the show a little bit, but Justin, if you want to say your goodbyes to everybody.
Yo, peace, guys. I'll see you guys soon. Stay classy. Brandon, I'll see you, brother. All right?
All right, man. Okay, everybody. So just to finish off this episode, I'm going to talk a little MMA. Went a little big there for a second. Or actually a little combat sports, I should say, both. So first off, UFC 291 was last Saturday. Great event. Main event. I didn't expect that to happen at all. To see Dustin Poirier get flatlined like that was something that I don't think I would have ever foresaw or imagined. So that was a complete and utter shock. My jaw was on the floor when that happened. But what I want to talk about, since we're kind of almost a week out of it, what I really want to dive into is the fights to make after UFC 291. So obviously Justin Gaethje, we're going to start with the main event. Justin Gaethje won the fight by KO, head kick. Crazy that it was the same exact place in the same building last year. Leon Edwards in Utah knocked out Kamaru Usman with a head kick, head shot dead. Crazy as those things work. But for me, obviously, I think we all know Justin Gaethje is going to be fighting the winner of Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira, the rematch. He's going to get the winner of that. There are rumors that Charles might not show up for it. He might pull out because he did say recently, before the fight was even announced, that he wasn't going to be ready for October. He wanted to fight in either November or December, and obviously they had the Abu Dhabi card booked for October, so Islam was going to fight in October. He wasn't going to fight in November, December. So there's rumors that maybe Charles was forced into it, especially with Volkanovski suffering his injury and having surgery. Maybe the UFC was a little skeptical about him being ready, even though I do think he's going to be ready. I think Volk would even tell you himself that he's going to be ready. So I expect him to fight the winner, but I'm not excited for that rematch, Islam versus Volk. I would be insanely excited for Islam Volk, the rematch, but I'm not excited for Islam versus Charles too. We saw that fight, and it wasn't like it was 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. It was last year in the same exact place, actually, in Abu Dhabi in October. And Charles Oliveira got thoroughly dominated, if we're going to be honest with you. He got knocked down, and then he got beat in his own game in the grappling department. He got arm triangled, if I'm not mistaken, with the submission. And there wasn't really any resistance to that. Once Islam got on the ground, he kind of, made his moves. I'm not no expert in MMA, but it looked like to me that he kind of made his moves pretty quickly and efficiently and locked that in pretty tightly. And Charles didn't have anywhere to go. And Charles has spoken out that he just didn't feel himself show up that night. He had a big win against Beneil in June. Didn't expect that. I thought Beneil was going to win. I'm not that excited for it. I expect Islam to dominate again if this fight does take place. What I would be ecstatic for, and Josh Thompson brought this up too, and I completely agree. If Charles doesn't show up and does pull out, Justin Gaethje stay ready and take that fight, because we all expected him and Poirier, the rematch, to be an absolute war. It wasn't. Justin kind of walked out with, I think he had one bump on his nose or something like that, but other than that, he was pretty fine. I know it's a quick turnaround, but championship status is calling, and if you got a shot against Islam and Volkanovski showed you some weaknesses, some flaws that some vulnerabilities in Islam, the armor has been lowered a little bit. If Justin Gaethje's wrestling defense is there, which it can be, and he shows, he pressures Islam. He throws those leg kicks as, only Justin Gaethje can, which absolutely destroy. I mean, it even gave Khabib a little bit of issues at times. If you watch that fight, even though it was a quick fight, he did hit Khabib with the big shot. We've seen Islam be knocked out before. He got knocked down by Volk at the end of the 5th. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying Islam is not Khabib Nurmagomedov. He is Islam Makhachev. But we do know Gaethje's jiu-jitsu is, we're going to call a spade, it's absolutely dog shit. It's been non-existent. He's shown like no, if you want to give credit to Khabib for his outstanding jiu-jitsu skill set for getting that submission, how quickly he was able to get into that triangle, or blame Gaethje in terms of there was just absolutely no defense. I think I've heard rumors that he doesn't really train jiu-jitsu that much. I don't know how true those are, grain of salt. But I would love to see Justin versus Islam in October if Charles does pull out, because I'm not excited for Islam Charles. I'm more excited for the co-main event, Paulo Costa versus Hamzat Chimaev. I think that's going to be an outstanding fight. Zat Daddy. Next up, Alex Pereira obviously got the job done. Live, I thought Jan won, but looking back at it, listening to people much smarter than me, I very much see how Alex Pereira won that fight. And honestly, it was the fight. It was the person that I wanted to win that fight. No offense to Jan, but I think the MMA community, the UFC fans around the world wanted Alex to win, because now we get to see Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka for the vacant UFC light heavyweight championship in a 5-round fight. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better fight, to be honest with you. I know Ariel Helwani said that that's kind of the biggest fight he's looking forward to in MMA right now that hasn't been booked. I couldn't agree more. That is just a war that is bound to happen. Yuri's been out for over a year now, but we know Yuri is in classic since he's begun. He puts on performances. The Dominic Reyes spinning elbow was absolutely vicious and dirty, and just God. The Glover fight how terrible the fight was in terms of the fight IQ. It just made for one of the best fights, probably fight of the year last year. I'd have to remember the other fights, but that was just an outstanding fight because of how bad their fight IQ was in that fight, both guys. No offense to either guy, but it was. I don't see either of these guys shooting for a takedown, Yuri and Alex. I see this being a stand-up war for 5 rounds, or until somebody puts the other guy down, which I expect to happen. And if I'm going to be honest with you, first off, actually, I want to see this fight as the co-main event in the MSG card, right behind John Jones and Stipe. I think that's the perfect place to put it, because spoiler alert, I do believe Conor McGregor is fighting this year. I do believe he's fighting in December. I do believe he's fighting Michael Chandler in December in the pay-per-view. I believe the only holdup is not USADA. I believe the holdup is, are they going to do it in Vegas, or are they going to do it in Ireland? Because I do remember Dana White saying recently in the last couple months that he wants to do a fight in Ireland, and no better place or time to do it but Conor McGregor's return to the octagon in December. But what I wanted to say about the prediction for Alex versus Yuri is, I think Yuri actually beats the shit out of him. I got to be honest with you. I think Yuri is faster. I think he's more explosive and creative with his attacks. Obviously, Alex has that power. The power wasn't, I don't know if it wasn't not the same, but it just, I know Jan was hurt towards the end of the second round, especially, but it just didn't seem like before that the shots were completely affecting Jan the same way they would those 185ers. Now that he's at a bigger weight class, so that's something to keep an eye on. Is the power just not there anymore because he's now at 205 and he's fighting guys kind of his size now, even though he's still a massive 205er. But that fight is just absolutely insane. Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka. I hope to see that next. I think we will see that next. I think it's going to happen in November. I think the MSG card actually is going to be an insanely stacked card. My dream card for UFC 295, I believe it is. Let me actually double check. I think it's UFC 295 in November, Madison Square Garden. If I'm not mistaken, because it is. UFC 30 is the 30th anniversary. I believe it's the actual day after or day before the 30th anniversary of the UFC. It is UFC 295. My dream card would be, obviously, it's got Jones versus Miocic as the main event, but co-main event being Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira for the vacant UFC light heavyweight championship in the co-main event. Then the third title fight would be Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington for the 170 welterweight championship. And I would love to round off that card. I don't know what the fifth fight would be, but the fourth fight definitely should be, I agree with Ariel, Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich on the same card as John Jones and Stipe. And I just think that would be an insane fucking fight card. And they love to stack their cards when it's special events. You go look at 200, you go look at 100. This is going to be a stacked event, UFC 30, UFC 295. I know it's not UFC 30th anniversary, UFC 295 in Madison Square Garden, Jones Stipe, November 11th. They're going to stack that card. I could easily see 3 title fights being on that card, especially because Connor's fighting in December, and you can't have a title fight below Connor because he's obviously going to be the main event. Next up, another fight I want to see is Derek Lewis versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. It's crazy these two haven't fought because they're perfect match for each other. Both guys are strikers. Both are not going to try and wrestle. They're just going to try and knock each other out, and I think that's the perfect fight for both guys. It was so happy to see. I was so happy to see Derek Lewis get the job done. Obviously, after his losing streak and getting finished and etc. But Derek Lewis is a mainstay. I don't believe he leaves the UFC. I believe he gets re-signed. I believe the UFC does right by Derek Lewis, and that would be the fight I want to see next. The only way I could see Derek Lewis leaving the UFC is if PFL comes knocking and says, we're going to do Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou for Francis's first fight, and you get, the minimum $2 million there because Francis's contract is insane. But that's the only way. I don't know if the UFC even lets it get to that talking stage, to be honest with you, though. Next up, sucks that my boy Tony Ferguson lost. He's fallen on hard times. He 6 fights in a row. The last 3 were by finishes, I believe. Nate Diaz submitted him, guillotine. I think the Chandler one before that was obviously the front kick to the face. I hate to say it. I tweeted it after the event, but it is time for Tony Ferguson to retire. And I don't say that as a happy person. I say it as a sad MMA fan, a sad Tony Ferguson fan, because probably the number one fight that we didn't get that I would have wanted to see on my number one list is Khabib versus Tony. You can make the case that we've seen over the last 6 fights that, Tony was probably going to get dominated by Khabib, but we have no idea. We have no idea. That's just a fight that should have happened that didn't happen. The last 6 fights have been tough for all Tony fans, and even tougher for Tony and his people around him. But he just looked slow. His shots looked like they were moving in slow motion against Bobby Green. I know Bobby Green's fast, but it just didn't even look like Tony was in the same stratosphere at points with Bobby Green. The speed is diminished incredibly. He's never been a great takedown guy, and the submission attacks were completely nullified. It's time to. You want to give him maybe one more fight, a fight maybe he can actually, maybe like no disrespect, but like a Jim Miller or something like that, maybe a Matt Brown at 170 or something like that. But that would be it for me. I just don't want to see this anymore with Tony. I just don't think that he's not the same guy. We obviously know he's not the same guy. But getting off the sad train, Bobby Green got a big win, got a submission. I think his next fight should be against Matt Frevola, who's number 14 in the lightweight division. I think that'd be an exciting fight. Frevola's a finisher. Bobby Green fancies himself a finisher too. I think that's a perfect fight for Bobby Green. I know he wants to come back fast, so I don't know if Frevola's ready for that. But I think that would be a great fight because I think Bobby Green has always been scratching at the surface of top 15 lightweight. So I'd like to see that fight. I'd also love to see Bobby Green versus Patty. I think that'd be a great fight too. But Patty's not coming back till I think probably December would be the best case scenario. Put him on the same card as Connor. both of their returns. That would be great. Next up, we got, Kevin Holland got a big win over Michael Chiesa, Darce choke. I think the perfect fight for Kevin Holland. He said he's done with 170 because the only reason he moved back down was because he wanted to fight either Jorge or Nate. Nate's currently not in the company anymore. Jorge has retired. The BMF title is at 155 now. Kevin Holland needs a top 15 guy, number 15, or I think he moved up to 14 now at 185. He says he wants to move back up. I think the perfect fight is Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis versus Kevin Holland is the perfect fight. Both guys are going to want to stand and bang. Both guys are going to talk shit. And it just makes for an exciting-ass fight. You can put that as a main event on a fight night, or you can put that on a pay-per-view. Doesn't matter to me. I think that's a great fight for Kevin Holland and Chris Curtis to give the fans what they want. And finally, just to touch on Dustin Poirier, I listened to the Ariel Helwani interview. It sounded a little more optimistic that Poirier is not going to walk away. I know right after the fight in the post-fight press conference, he was kind of a little more pessimistic on his future. It was a lot more up in the air, which is completely fair after coming off a loss that he doesn't believe. He knows he lost, but he believes that he lost to a guy that he is better than. If you listen to Ariel interview with Dustin, I don't think Dustin can walk away. He's still an elite fighter in this company. But I don't know what's next for him because he obviously only wants money fights, big fights, or championship fights. And he doesn't want to fight Beneil. I don't think he'd want to fight Fiziev, Gamrot, Sarukian. He's already fought Chandler, already fought Oliveira. He just lost to Gaethje. Obviously, the trilogy would be out there. If they wanted to do that again, I'd be down for that. But I know Gaethje said that he doesn't want to do it next, but he would be willing to do it down the line. I think those two should meet again in the octagon for a third and final time. 1-1, got to do it again. There's not much out there for Poirier unless he moves up to 170. And he was asked on the whole MMA Hour, again, would he be willing to fight Colby at 170? He just straight up said no. That fight's not going to happen. I don't see it ever happening. He's just not going to give Colby the time of day to fight him. But yeah, there's not much out there for Dustin Poirier. It's going to be a very interesting to see what Poirier does next because there's not much out there for him. And I know because the only reason I say this is because there's not much out there for him to get excited about. And that's what he's looking for now. It's to get excited. He's not here to just fight. He's here to get excited and get those butterflies that he talked about before the Gaethje rematch. But that wraps up the fights I want to see after UFC 291. And quickly on the boxing front, Terence Crawford beat the teetotal shit out of Errol Spence Jr. on Saturday night as well. And I just have to say this, questions are arise, statements are made. Is Terence Bud Crawford the best boxer in the world right now, pound for pound? No. But I think he has really moved up. I believe he's the third best boxer in boxing right now, pound for pound. I've always stated Canelo Alvarez is the best boxer currently going right now, pound for pound. His resume is unmatched right now to anybody else in boxing. Number 2 would be Tyson Fury, and then 3 would be Terence Crawford, and then 4 would probably be Gervonta Davis, and then anybody after that, I honestly really don't give a shit because they really haven't fought or beaten the elite talents, in my opinion. So that's where I have Bud as number 3. For me, it comes down to is if Bud Crawford is chasing legacy, which I believe he is at this point, he's 35, 36. If he's chasing legacy, then the fights to have are in weight classes above him. Now, he was obviously talking shit to Charlo during the Errol Spence fight when he knocked Errol Spence down. He went to the corner and started saying to Charlo, you're next. But Charlo has his hands full next. In September, he's boxing Canelo. I believe Canelo is going to beat the brakes off of him. No surprise there. And I don't want to hear it because I think this is a kind of a bold take, but I don't want to hear it. Canelo Alvarez once fought at 147, if I'm not mistaken. I know it took him a couple of years to obviously get up to this weight class that he's at now, but they're about the same size in terms of height. not same size in terms of build and stuff like that. Canelo's obviously built him up, but Charlo's moving up 2 weight divisions. If Crawford is chasing legacy, I think Canelo versus Crawford, if Crawford just spends 6 months or whatever bulking up and getting up to a weight class, 160, 164 or something, I think that would be perfect. Canelo versus Crawford would be one of the biggest boxing matches you can make. And again, I don't want to hear the excuses because Canelo used to be a 170 or 147 pounder, and he's moved up to light heavyweight now. I think that's an insane, because Canelo's going to beat Charlo, and now Crawford's going to fight, Canelo scraps. That fight's not as big anymore because Canelo just beat him. So for me, it's Crawford's got to fight. He can stay at 147. There's a couple of guys there, but I think we should build up to Crawford versus Canelo. That might be sacrilegious, but like I said, if you want if legacy's the legacy, then I think moving up is the best case scenario for that. And that is going to wrap up my conversations about the combat sports aspect of everything. Me and Justin had a great conversation. If you guys stay to the end, if you guys watch this video, please give us a thumbs up, share the content, subscribe, turn on the notification bell to be notified when we go live and post up videos. Some changes are coming for the Wise Guys. It's we're in a transition era right now. More to be discussed in coming days, coming weeks, possibly. But we're excited, me and Justin. We're very excited for the future. And if you stay, just give us a like, subscribe, please. It helps us out. It's much appreciated. We're gonna give you fun, epic content. I want to talk more mixed martial arts with you guys. We're going to do live streams. We're already doing a live stream, but watch parties, I should say. I always mix that up. And yeah, that is pretty much going to wrap up episode 119 of the Wise Guys podcast. Thank you for staying. Like I said, please give us a like, subscribe, share the content with your friends and family. Tell people about it. Tell your friends and family about us. It's much appreciated. It helps a lot. We love bringing content to you guys. We love talking with you guys. We love talking with each other about this shit. It's a show, made by the fans for the fans. That's how I feel. I love this shit. It's my passion. I've been Brandon Capozziello. A little while ago, that was Justin Ray. We were the Wise Guys. As Justin Ray says, stay classy. And we are outie 3 thouty. Late as gay is.